Hey everybody, it's Beth. Today I'm using these 7-inch mitten cutouts that I got from Amazon. I paint the side that'll be the back of the mitten with butter pecan acrylic paint, and that's by Folkart. I do that to both of the mittens. Once that's dried completely, I trace that out on this scrapbook paper that I got from Hobby Lobby and cut those pieces out. Once those are cut out, I add Mod Podge to the unfinished side of the mittens. Make sure that's completely covered and then place down the scrapbook paper, smoothing it out with my hands. Once I have both of those attached, I use my heating tool to dry it and smooth out any wrinkles. Once that's completely dry, I add a layer of Mod Podge to the top of the paper and then dry that as well. After they are dry, I take my micro sander and sand off the excess paper. Next, I'm taking a fuzzy sock and I place it over the top of one of the mittens. I then cut a little bit above the top of it, remove that piece, flip it inside out, and then add some hot glue on the area that I had cut. I then flip that back the right way and place it over the top, adding a little bit of hot glue on the front and the back. I do the same thing with the other mitten, just this time cutting a section of the sock off and then doing the same with the hot glue, flipping it inside out to do that. I then decided I didn't like the black so much for the look I was going for, so I painted over the sock with Truffle chalk paint by Waverly. I then had tore a couple pieces of muslin fabric that I got from Amazon and made a little bow out of it, wrapped some twine around the center, and left the twine long so I could attach these rusty bells to the end of each of them. The bells came from Amazon, and I just put some twine through them and made a knot, and then added some tacky glue to those knots so they wouldn't come apart. And I made 2 of those, one for each of the mittens. Next, I set the mittens up against each other how I want them set, and then hot glue them together, just in a couple spots. And once that glue is set, I flip it over so I can add a hanger. And what I'm doing is knotting some twine, and then I cut a little slit in the back of that sock, added some hot glue in there, and placed in the twine. Just made sure that was pushed in there, and then added a little bit more hot glue to close that opening I made so you won't see it at all. I then trim up the twine and do the same thing on the other side. I flip that back over and then hot glue some greenery as well as some red berries to each of those. And then hot glue each of those bows on top of the berries and the greenery. I thought the tails were a little bit too thick, so I did end up ripping those, cutting a little slit, and then pulling those apart. So there'd be extra tails, but they'd just be thinner. And that is it for this project. Thank you so much for watching.